Welcome everyone to the Island Life podcast, where we journey onto the island of discovery to relive some of the best and worst moments of Survivor. My name is Will, an experienced Survivor fan, 48 seasons deep, and I'll be your guide. And joining us on this special two-person adventure is our Survivor newbie, the brand new Survivor fan who just finished his 5th season of the show. I give you Survivor F.
What's going on, folks? Survivor F here.
And we're here for something different. So we're in the midst right now, if you want to date this episode when it comes out, we're in the midst of season 49. We're an episode in. We're getting to know, or 2 episodes in, getting to know that cast. But we're taking some time to actually watch another new era season. This is season 46. And part of what I'm doing here, F, is A, it turns out that this is an important season. But B, a opportunity to compare 2 new era seasons kind of in parallel here. Instead of like, well, obviously things were way different back in the early 2000s. But no, this is last year.
Feels so long ago, but yeah, it's nice to see, like, especially watching some of the older seasons and being able to compare them to the modern era. You get to see how the format has changed and evolved over time. So loving the changes. Not every season is going to be a hit. So as I've said previously, I always watch to see what the hook for every season is. And this one, yeah, it carries over a lot of the same identity as the other season 48, season 47 too, like the modern seasons do. So very much has those same vibes.
Yeah, and a lot of people consider this a negative. All the new era seasons are basically organized the same way. But what it will allow us to do is kind of say, like, who's doing it better, right? Because we can compare, like, well,
Right.
the seasons you've seen so far did their versions to this version. But you mentioned hooks. I have to ask. So we watched episodes 1 through 4 so far. That's what we're talking about today. I've decided to call it the Bhanu Saga.
Bhanu Saga.
Yeah.
Love it.
We really got you to like strongly start watching season 47. If instead we had invited you to start watching these episodes, would you actually have been hooked?
That's a great question, because the answer is I probably wouldn't. Like, I wouldn't be doing this for as long as I did. I think season 47 ended up becoming just a really good season. It is my favorite season still so far. And I don't know if part of the reason was it's the first season I watched, but I think it just had a really good storyline from start to finish, had a great cast of survivors. And this season, in comparison, you heard me make this remark when we were previously discussing it. There were so many times where it felt more like a comedy rather than like a reality TV series. And me going in, it would have given me a completely different impression of what Survivor's about. And I wouldn't be taking it as seriously, to be quite honest. And I think part of it has to do with the cast that we have for this season relative to the other seasons.
I'm not surprised to hear you say that. I even told Ange, but before we actually even started doing this podcast, that if I ever told someone to watch 46, I would tell them to actually just skip to episode 5 and make episode 5 episode 1 for them. And I
Right.
thought about doing that here, but I don't know. I think now that I'm more confident you can survive these episodes without quitting,
Ooh, I like that. Like that
I was
pun.
like, oh, let me let me put you through it. Um,
Yeah, no, I prefer it that way. I think having the whole picture is great. And I think it worked out better because, spoiler, this is one of the things that I actually got a chance to see ahead of time. I remember even before I got into these watch alongs with you guys, you did share with me a clip of one of the more hilarious moments in Survivor. And it was very much focused on Banu and just, his day-to-day semantics with his tribe. So, uh, I'll speak to it a little bit later in this episode, but it definitely would give me, going back to the previous question, it would have given me a completely different vibe of what Survivor is actually about.
Yeah. Uh, I can't. I want. I'm very curious if when the entire season's done, what you'll think about it. But um, we'll try to go in order here. But I mean, I think mostly what we're gonna do is talk about the craziness that ensued. Most of which is Banu. There's a little bit that's not Banu. Um,
Yeah, no, but these 4 episodes, a lot of it is a wash. It goes to your point about just kind of even considering discussing skipping the first 4. So a lot of stuff that just centers around Banu, centers around his tribe, the Yanu tribe, rhymes with Banu, and just kind of their escapades all throughout.
yeah. So I think it makes sense to we'll still break down the tribes, but I think we're gonna spend a lot of time on Yanu. So that's where we're gonna start.
Yeah.
Uh, So first of all, alphabetically, on Yana, we have Banu Gopal, 40-year-old from Acton, Massachusetts, who's listed as an IT quality analyst. We would learn that he has a crazy story of growing up
Of course.
in poverty and then eventually making it to the States. It's very dramatic, very emotional, and everything. And I, I think honestly, what most people thought of Banu is like. And I think even you said this. Why are you here?
Yeah, no, it's a mystery, right? Like even when he's sharing his story, it's like you you're 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 bringing it up at a point where it's all or nothing, right? If we learn this about you, if you set yourself up as this type of character, um, we might have those questions earlier, but it doesn't explain why you're playing the game the way you're playing. Like there's a lot of inconsistencies with his background, him being a super fan, and how he's playing the game. So very puzzling character, but I do respect his energy. I do respect the emotional nature that he played with. There's not a lot of people who had that much energy, even on days where they just didn't get to sleep much.
Yeah, but it's just it seemed like he came in with a complete backwards understanding of how people act on the show, like both unwilling to
Yeah.
lie and unaware of like what the social politics would even be, and it was just so much. I mean, honestly, he acted like someone from the early seasons, where in that case, well, you haven't seen the show yet, or so you don't. Nobody knows what to do.
Yeah, no, it just made you wonder what exactly his strategy to win would be, right? And if he's someone who's watched each and every season, he would have a rough idea of what works and what doesn't. And as much as we love to say it, you can't really play an honest game in Survivor. Like you can't be that trusting. You can't be that open about sharing things about your tribe to other tribes. So he did a lot of things that just pissed people off and just made no sense gameplay wise. So it I don't know if it's something that made sense to him or if he was just purely running off emotions as soon as he got on the island. I think part of what I'm thinking is he was so happy to be there that he just kind of lost himself in the moment and was just trying to enjoy himself rather than play to win. But at the end of the day, it's that goes back to the question of like, why exactly are you participating?
And there'll be more to talk about Banu shortly. Uh, Next on Yanu, we have David. Do you remember who David is?
David, let me think. A lot of survivors to go through. I don't. No, I don't.
Okay, that makes sense because this person did not go by their first name. They just declared themselves Jelinsky. Last name, David
Oh,
Jelinsky.
I thought you were gonna say cute for a second. Okay. I was
No,
like, wow,
no,
that's a
no. No, it's just funny because it's kind of like a cool honor if you're known as in your survivor persona by your last name, but usually that's like either Jeff starts doing that or like a moment happens and then you get the last name, but Jelinsky just decides like, I am Jelinsky. I'm declaring it. It's like giving yourself a nickname that has that energy.
Yeah, we talked about like the shortcomings with Bhanu, and then Jelinsky is like right there with him. He also, I guess, tried to play an honest game. I don't know. I don't know what his win condition was.
I don't know. So he's so Jelinsky, 21, still pretty young, from Las
Yeah.
Vegas, Nevada, a slot machine salesman. Um, he is a star of episode 1. So we're just gonna go over all of this episode 1 stuff right now. So obviously, like I said, he just declares himself Jelinsky already. Then we get the Sweat versus Savvy challenge, which is the 2 losing tribes from that first challenge face off.
Yep.
And he and Q are doing the Sweat
The sweat challenge.
which was, I think, just were they moving logs or something like that?
They had to actually get a bucket, which had holes in it, and actually fill it in the bowl. And I was telling you that looked really difficult. Like, I don't even know if that was a winnable challenge. It might have been, but that one looked really difficult.
Well, the big thing with that challenge was the, like, instructions say you have, like, several hours to do this, and apparently Jelinsky tells us, the world, the audience, that several definitively arbitrarily must mean 7 in all situations in life. And he's frustrated that the timer wasn't 7 hours because it said several.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be the recurring theme with this tribe, where a lot of these personalities are like, you don't know if they're actually trying to win the game. That's going to be a recurring theme with this tribe. How they think about things, how they play the game, how they try to interact with the other tribes. I have not really. You might have seen it with 1 or 2 survivors. I have not seen it with an entire tribe of survivors up until this season.
Well, because not only Jelinsky's upset, he just Q basically tells Q like, nah, can't be done. In fact, not only can it not be done, we shouldn't even bother attempting to get it done. And I don't know. I did think I mean
And that's
Q ultimately agrees with this, but
yeah.
I don't think he was happy about it.
No, absolutely not. Because if you know Q's personality, he's another part of that same tribe. He is more of this, like, I think he was saying like a D1 athlete, if I remember correctly, or some form of like D1, D2 athlete. Really competitive guy, someone who wants to be able to work with his tribe mates and is in a do or die position, someone who doesn't want to give up. And he's being told by this guy on the first day that, hey, let's give up on this challenge. So he might not say anything against it, but you definitely know he's taking notes and keeping an eye out for that.
Yeah, that's tough. And you just to, for impact, picks up the prop of the hourglass and tosses onto the beach, shattering it. Now people have to go pick up the glass. It's terrible. but uh but yeah, so that's our first quit. That's one of like our earliest quit we've ever seen. Not quit from the show, but just quitting.
Just like giving up right off the bat.
So that's already done.
Foreshadowing. Foreshadowing. That
Uh,
may not be the only
what
time.
else happened to Jelinsky? Yeah. What else happened to
Well,
Jelinsky? Real quick, is
I will gladly.
like there's one. Well, there's one big thing, but the smaller thing,
Yes.
in their they would eventually run a challenge, like the actual immunity challenge, and he does not end up being useful in that either. Like that he is not able to redeem himself in like the actual challenge. So just add that on top of it.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is the other big thing you're thinking of, but the journey does come to mind. He's the one where his tribe who goes on the journey, and the other 2 people that are a part of that journey. From what I recall, the journey goes like you actually have to flip like a card. One of you gets like a skull, the other one gets, what was it, like a torch, and the third person who has like a white tile that they flip, they're guessing which one has the torch, and if they can guess correctly, then they get an additional vote, and I believe the other person also gets an additional vote. Uh, and no one essentially loses their votes. But if you guess incorrectly, then the person who's able to deceive you ends up getting the advantage, and you then lose your vote. If I remember correctly, feel free to correct me or Will.
It's like mafia in that like
Right.
you're secretly assigned
Great analogy.
and you are
Yep.
trying to deceive uh the other people basically. And what it essentially comes down to is that Maria has to pick between Tevin's the other person and Jelinsky, which one of them doesn't have the skull. So it is Tevin's and Jelinsky's job to convince her that to pick
To pick that. Right.
but one of them obviously knows they are truthful and the other one doesn't, and it like knows they're lying, and Jelinsky's the one that lying, and all time awful deception skills by Jelinsky. If this was D&D,
Yeah.
like natural one in this.
He made an effort to lie at first, but then he immediately folded. And I think part of the reason why he folded, which I still don't think he should have done, he was given the ultimatum of, if I need to know who actually has the torch, because if I find out that you're lying, I'm going to be bad mouthing you to my tribe and just like letting them know like how you're a deceitful person. So being scared about that rather than like trying to figure out how to go back with his own advantage, that ended up rattling him, and he ended up just admitting that, yeah, no, I don't have it. So just goes to show the recurring theme so far. We're still in episode 1, by the way, of just kind of giving up on something before ultimately anything happens.
It, just awful, and this is worse than a usual journey, because usually at the journey, the thing you're worried about is, oh no, I might lose my folk, which is what happens to Jelinsky. But in this case, like because of how this challenge works, you failing is making the others succeed, and then the others get advantages. And so when
Yep.
Jelinsky comes back and basically tells the truth of what happened, he's telling his tribe, "Oh yeah, I just gave the other two tribes advantages that could probably be used against us at some point if like we all get to emerge, and I did it in like a pathetic way where I just gave up immediately." Like it looks awful for Jelinsky.
Absolutely. It just, the mentality of just giving up, like right away. This is just the first day. Like this is not like, oh, I've weathered the storm, I'm starting to really kind of lose it here, I've been on the beach for like maybe like 15 or so days. No, this is like the first day. So yeah, that does not speak to someone who will win the game. Like that, this is the most confident I've been like this early in someone just not being able to win the game. It, like, if you gave me like betting odds on, okay, like after watching this first episode before you know who gets voted out, do you think Jelensky can possibly make it to the end? I would have said no, no way, absolutely not.
Oh, if we do like the opposite of our winner picks, we're just loser picks.
Yeah, right.
That's funny. Yeah. So actually, we can just get to it real quick. Be- because of all of this, Jelinsky is obviously in trouble at the end of episode 1. Now Jess is also in trouble. So they, as a tribe, the rest of them could have decided that they preferred Jelinsky's maybe challenge strength. But that's a big maybe, because I mean he like failed in everything he's done so far. And yeah,
Yeah, just
sending away Jelinsky. So
just to compare the two, right? Because Jess will come up later. Uh, Jess is also someone who's a weak link in that tribe, which is especially noticeable early on. She's another person who you don't really know what their winning strategy is. She seems lost in the challenges, is a little bit slow to react to things, and it looks like she's just taking time to process everything and just a little bit slow on the uptake rather than, just playing the game and trying to be competitive and communicating, socializing with people. That was a common talking point against Jess, where when the rest of the tribe were getting together to talk, communicate, plan for things, she was generally not around. So she would be one of those survivors you would think of if, like, this person is kind of distant, off on their own, not really contributing to challenges. So you could tell that right in the first episode, and that made her the other person kind of on the chopping block, just to make it super obvious that it wasn't just going to be Jelinsky.
Yeah, so we lose Jelinsky. Um, would you want to see Jelinsky?
I knew you were going to ask me this. No, no way. I was like, please don't ask me. This is an automatic no.
Okay, fine. Also on Yanu is Jess Shong, 37, from San Francisco, California, software engineer. You just started talking about her. Um,
Yeah.
you're right. I think she just kind of had a slow start for whatever reasons. Like, you're out of your elements and everything, and by the time I think she was like ready to start trying things, like a 4-person alliance had already formed, which is Bhanu and Kenzie, Q, and Tiffany. And then they vote out Jelinsky. So now it's 4 against 1, so that's already bad. And then if you remember, this is from episode 2, that immunity challenge was when they had to, like, ultimately the puzzle is spelling what are they spelling? Perseverance? Something like that.
Yes.
But it's like in an arch above their heads, and really would have been nice to have someone tall rather than Jess there.
Right.
And then Banu also, like, loses his mind, is like, "Stay in, Jess."
Yeah, she was getting yelled at in that challenge. That is probably the most uncomfortable I've ever seen anyone in a challenge. And I've seen some like rough challenges. That was pretty bad.
By the way,
And
resistance is what it was, not perseverance.
yeah, and you would see a clear theme, and this team just does not have it together. They're not working together as well. They're struggling to communicate to each other, and it's just a lot of it is they don't have a winning attitude. You see with Jelinsky, even with Jess, like, she is there, but she doesn't look like she's trying to compete. She's not giving it her all. She's not trying to win it all. And it's showing up in your body language, right? If you're a go-getter, if you're trying to win it, it shows up. There's people who we've seen great comebacks. Those comebacks are not going to happen in these challenges if you don't leave it all on the table and try to make it to the end. It's not going to happen. And if your body language is showing that you're not doing it,
But
it's not enough.
even ultimately, like, it might have might have only lasted a day, but a day was enough, because, like, suddenly now, like, this bigger alliance is made. Then they vote out the other person on the outs, so now it's only you. And then, unbeknownst to you, the idol's been found, so that's not on the table to get in anymore. Um, that tribal council was very odd. So first of all, for reasons, Kenzie and company decide they want to create a fake idol and have Jess find that fake idol
Oh, this is so awkward.
and then play it. And then, so first of all, but they're struggling to even find it. Like, Tiffany's trying to, like, lead her around and, like, assume, like, oh, of course she'll just, like, look down and see it. But Jess is like, oh,
No, she messes up.
I don't see it. I guess I'll just stop looking now. And Tiffany's like, how is it possible? So then they're like, all right, Q, we're gonna give you the fake idol, and you're just gonna, like, give it to Jess and just make up some story.
That was I hated watching that sequence. That was like the most obvious lie that I've seen. That, like, if I was Jess, like, why would this person be doing this to help me? Like, I just do not understand this. Like, that would set something off in my mind. Like, oh, am I helping this tribe enough that he's gonna go to bat for me, immediately waste his idol? Like, something doesn't click here.
Yeah, well, especially, like, it's and not my ally. Like, it.
Yeah. She hasn't even really communicated with him. So it's like, what's going on here? But
But
eventually, like, we do see her try to use it.
yeah, well, and ultimately, look, the point of that is to make her comfortable and not use her shot in the dark. And she doesn't use the shot in the dark. So success? Question mark. Um, Also, you may remember Banu also lost his mind at this tribal council. Extremely
Yeah.
emotional, and at some point, just turns to Kenzie's like, "Who do I have to vote for?" Like puppy dog eyes. Like, oh, what do I do?
I see, like, if I didn't know his character that well, right? Like, if it wasn't obvious, like, I would think that, like, that's again, he's just trying to make it look like they're not gonna just vote out Jess, that she has a chance so she doesn't. They're just trying to double down on her not using her shot in the dark, and they're just trying to make it look like, oh, okay, the votes could be split, so it may not necessarily be her. Bonu himself could be a weakling, who knows? So I don't know if that's what it was, but this tribe is just so dysfunctional that, like, it could be a multitude of things.
Yeah, and by the way, like all the while, they've been losing every single challenge, including the like Jelinsky's the sweat challenge and Q sweat challenge too. Throw that in
Mhm.
there. Another challenge lost. Um, so they have no flint and therefore no fire, and no other reward. So it's not looking great. Um,
No.
Also on their team is Kenzie Petty, 28 from Charlotte, North Carolina, a salon owner. Um, Kenzie's story so far seems to be like very social. She's able to talk to most other people well. And mainly her thing is that fake idol of really wanting to set up Jess with that.
Right.
Did you take that as a like that increases her stock, or does that like make you worried about her?
She definitely appears to be the most dangerous player in that tribe. She has it in her to potentially make it the furthest, is my assessment, just because she does get along with everyone. She does try to talk to everyone, but she can be deceitful and you might not know it. So she's playing a game and she could be manipulating you and you might not know it. And we see that with some of the members in her tribe. But there's people who, if they're observant, they can catch on to that. She might not be winning you physical challenges, but I think in terms of her social game, in terms of just being able to persuade someone, she has things where that can make her dangerous for sure.
Yeah, I think like these next three are clearly our uh like core alliance. So I think a lot of what we say for one can kind of go for the other. It'll be hard to say unless the tribe dynamics change in some way to like distinguish them.
Yep.
Um, but I feel like she so like in these four episodes seems the most down to earth. I mean, I understand there was like that like kind of out of nowhere obsession to really do that fake idol, but uh,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
the other two definitely have more visible things that they do. For example, next we have Q Burdette, 29 from Memphis, Tennessee, a real estate agent. Q is the muscle of the tribe. He's pretty funny when he's talking both in confessional and to his tribe mates. And I think one of the things I remember most of these four episodes is Q, again, for reasons, decides not an act. I'm actually going to try to get Banu on my side now. And I'm gonna like coach him up. This is how he has to act at tribal council. We're gonna role play of like me as Jeff Ropes and you. So far in episode 3, he was strongly considering to use Banu's help to vote against Kenzie. And we will never know if they would have done that because that's the episode that Randen gets medevaced. But it did seem that's where it was leaning. So Q, what do you make of Q?
he's a hard one for me to pin down because he has aspects of his game where yes, he, like that I think was a smart decision, but overall I think he doesn't really make smart decisions. He misplays things, kind of like trying to work with Banu, where Banu, the more you see him, the more you see that he is becoming more and more of a liability. So in a sense, you are handicapping yourself. Uh, you just look at him and you would assume that he would do really well in physical challenges. I don't think I've really seen that in the first 4 episodes that we've watched. So I could be wrong as we continue to watch more, but he he's a confusing person to just pinpoint, and it's just the one thing I do find commendable about him is he has areas of his game where, he wears his heart on his sleeve and he wants to win it. And he's really about not giving up or giving it his best. And he says that. But ironically enough, we see a segment with him later on where he gets so disappointed by letting his tribe down that he wants to consider even having them vote him out, like genuinely. He's not like even trying to be deceitful there. And I thought, in a sense, that was pretty interesting, like a fresh take on a survivor who takes that game that seriously, and I respect that. But it's like, come on, man, like you're not really being smart here. Like, what are you doing?
Well, what's funny is like he's saying this, and from at least from body language, I feel like Kenzie was like, "All right, fine. If you want to go, I'll vote you out." But then, but like in her head, that's kind of what I saw. That Tiffany, though, out loud is
Yeah.
like, "Shut up! Like no, like you're not quitting. Like get out of your own head." So Tiffany wasn't having
Yeah,
it.
and vice versa. He sees Kenzie as a threat, kind of like I was describing. So he does have his eye on her, and that's why I'm saying he's kind of hard to pinpoint one way or the other. He's made smart choices, but he's also made some really odd, idiotic ones. So I don't really have a proper assessment of him up until I watch more, I would say.
Yeah, just putting you in Q's shoes. Is that seriously something you would do? Like, rather than continue with Kenzie and Tiffany, include Banu in your 3-person alliance. So you go Q yourself, Tiffany, and Banu.
I think for
Just
him,
at this point, you've seen like 2.5 episodes of Banu is what information you have at this point.
yeah, I think his logic for that is Banu is going to be loyal no matter what. He does not know if he can say the same for Kenzie. And as he had mentioned, I believe, I think this is actually exactly what he said. He was saying that post merge, if they all make it, you don't know if it's going to become dangerous to have Kenzie around. If, she's going to throw you under the bus for something. You don't really have to worry about that for Banu.
Okay,
And
counterpoint.
I agree with him.
Counterpoint. Banu's already thrown you under the bus by going on
Yeah.
that journey and just declaring like, "Oh yeah, Tiff and Q, they're like tight allies. Kenzie is running the game." He's already
Well, that's
accidentally betrayed us.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, that's what makes him hard to like pinpoint. He in a sense is correct. Like, I do see Kenzie doing that, and yes, Banu did do that, and that's why I'm saying Banu is really a handicap for him that he's not seeing. But I think his action is more of a longer term play. In if Kenzie's still around, she could potentially try to convince the others within her tribe to vote him out, which I don't think Banu would do. Right? He might be talking out loud to others, but Banu's literally doing what Q is telling him to. He's going up to him and asking what should I do? Coach me, this and that. Like, how often do we see that in Survivor? That someone is just telling you how to play the game and you're just doing it.
Yeah, that's. Don't remind me. Oh yeah. Well, we'll get to Banu, or the rest of Banu shortly. Uh, Last, Tiffany Nicole Irvin, 32, from Elizabeth, New Jersey, an artist. Uh, Tiffany, I thought, had a pretty good first 4 episodes. The most important thing being she's able to find the Beware advantage, and then after they lost, able to unlock the idol. And so she now has the power of an immunity idol. She is close with both Q and Kenzie, like, kind of like it seems so far she's kind of in the middle of them, where like Kenzie probably
Right.
thinks that she's closest to Tiffany, and Q probably thinks he's close to Tiffany. So that's probably a good place to be if you are Tiffany. Um, and I wonder if she also would have, because now put yourself in Tiffany's shoes. Q, it wasn't your idea, but now Q has come to you to say we should be a Banu. So now it's kind of harder because the thing is, to not agree with Q would mean either you have to persuade him to change his mind, or you'd have to like tell Kenzie, but then you don't have anyone else to vote with, so it's 2 versus 2. So that's kind of, so Q kind of had her, if he wanted to be kind of mean about it, Q had her kind of stuck where she didn't have a good option other than to agree with him.
Yeah, yeah. We have the least to say about her in the sense that she's, in terms of like length in the game, she's had the least screen time, I would say, compared to the others, and I think that's for the better. You're right. She's got a beware advantage. She's in a good social standing, and I think this is one of those cases where the less we see her, the better it is, because the rest of the tribe, what we're seeing is just pure dysfunction.
Well, and we do see, like, when we do see her, it's being a no nonsense when we're talking with Q, and the same thing when talking with Banu. So
Right.
like the crazy scene for episode 4 is Banu comes back from the journey, which he's failed at. So, and by the way, that journey was the 3 people arrive. In theory, they're supposed to talk to each other, and this is where Banu just, it's like, guys, I it's gonna be me tonight. This is where my journey ends. I mean, meanwhile, you haven't even participated whatever this journey is yet. You have no idea what might happen. But nope, you're right, Banu. This is where your story ends. Uh, and he reveals everything about his own tribe. But then they randomly assign 3 rocks. One of them is going to be the white rock, and it means that you just go back to your tribe with nothing. But you also don't lose your vote. And then the other 2 are going to compete separately, independently in challenges, which is like construct a block puzzle. Uh, Banu fails this and is very emotional as like the sand runs out. And it all leads to coming back to camp, and he's very sad. I think he like curses God at one point, even though he was like asking God for a miracle the last episode, and literally got like potentially spared because Randen gets medevac. Uh, Kenzie's like, "Oh, is there anything I could do for you?" He says, "Could you find me an idol?" And like his face is like hopeful, like he thinks like somehow she's actually gonna do that, which is crazy. And then of course with Tiffany, when comes around, he just falls to his knees, hands together, begs Tiffany like, "Oh, you gotta help me, you gotta save me, Tiffany." It is bizarre. I feel like this is a moment where you turn off the TV. Like Survivor's not for you potentially. This is your first time watching.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's just so much to say about this entire sequence where, yeah, like the journey for like the rest of his tribe, right? It's a journey where it's not that they're selecting who gets to go; it's that he gets chosen by someone else. I believe it was Liz who had selected him, and he goes on the journey, and
Yeah.
no one in his tribe has faith in him. And they actually were not expecting that he would win, and they actually correctly were deducing that he would just reveal everything to the other tribes, which is exactly what he did. And to add insult to injury, I think, as you said, he gets bailed out in, he's thinking he's going to get eliminated, comes back, does not get eliminated, but then he makes a massive blunder by revealing to his tribe that, hey, yeah, like I said, these things about you guys to the other tribe, pissing off the rest of his tribe for absolutely no reason.
Wild.
Just
Wild.
just really weird decision making. I'm not sure what he would stand to gain from that, but hey, what can you do?
Yeah, I mean, uh So, as the Bhanu Saga came to a close, just remember that he wanted to let the world know that he was not there to win $1 million. He was there to win 1 million hearts, which of course
Would you
sounds
say
very
that he had
fast.
succeeded? Did he win your heart?
No, he actually like turned my heart black and with great disdain for
Oh,
the survivor.
I hope he doesn't listen to this podcast.
But he seems, I mean, inspirational story. So like the human seems awesome, but the survivor player, like F tier, dreadful. Why were you here for 4 episodes taking up time?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he's just in the wrong show. If he was like in a different type of show where he could show more of his personality, he was not competing to win $1 million in a challenge where you have to be deceitful. Yeah, it would have worked out a lot better, but he's just in the wrong game at the wrong time with the wrong group.
Yeah. It is interesting. So as we go through the rest of the cast now and just kind of pick the moments of these episodes we want to talk about, um, the rest of the season is essentially the other two tribes who are untouched at tribal. The only casualties, and I guess we'll start here, was Randen Montalvo, 40-year-old from Orlando, Florida, an aerospace technician. This is on the Orange Tribe on Nami. So he would actually have to be removed uh, for as like they were concerned for his like either nerve pinch,
What appears to be a pinched nerve. Yeah, something more serious.
right? And so that's what they told him at first in like the beginning of that episode. But then by the end, Dr. Will comes out and Jeff's there on the beach. And obviously if Jeff shows up on your beach, it's almost always bad news. Uh and they explained that they consulted a colleague off the island and they're worried that what they think is just a trapped nerve is actually a bulging disc. And they're worried enough that they're pulling him from the game. So this isn't the quits that we saw in previous seasons. This is the show has decided you are leaving now.
He's forcibly being removed from the game. He doesn't have a choice.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, no, rightfully so.
and
But
surprisingly, even though we have someone leaving pretty early because of that, not voted out, there is a couple things to talk about with Randen. So he's the one who finds the the beware badge.
yeah, the beware advantage. I was gonna say that you heard me keep asking about that he's found a beware advantage. He's really only tight with maybe one person on the tribe, and he's the one person he's tight with. He finds really sketchy. He's a little distrustful of her, Venus. And my question was like, okay, what happens with the beware advantage if he has it? He's removed from the game. Like, what happens to that? Like, does it just vanish?
Well, okay, so without explicitly telling you, because we're going to watch the episodes, but from the information presented to you so far, since they haven't lost yet an immunity
Right.
challenge. So the conditions to get the key to unlock the box have not been met. And now that he's gone and he's the owner of the beware advantage, I do not think anybody else, even if you could claim the box, it would not like you could go in there. It's not your idol to claim because you don't have the beware advantage. So from what you know so far, it should mean the idol's just dead. It's over for that idol on that beach.
Right. Which is
Unfortunately,
unfortunate.
anyone else hoping to find an idol there, and not knowing. I mean, Venus knows the situation, but nobody else does. Um, by the way, Venus. So Venus Vafa, 24-year-old from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, a data
Oh, I
analyst,
don't know how I missed that.
Canadian.
Good job too.
Um, even though actually that's all right. What I should say is living there actually, because she says she what country was she talking about?
That she was born in. Was it Iran?
It might have been. I'm hoping I'm not guessing wrong, but she or Persian. I think she was. I'll get it eventually. But anyway, Venus is another strong character from the Nami tribe. She's someone who is out looking for idols early. She is extremely confident
Yeah.
in herself, which is part of a skill.
The
You need confidence.
Venus.
Unfortunately, unfortunately, she is lacking a bit in positive social relationships, and so the alliances that are forming tend to not include her. So that's not a good sign. And actually, even Randen did not trust her, but actually kind of decides to have a backward strategy and be like, if I don't trust her, that's the person I should align with, and maybe like we'll do like a secret that no one would ever expect it. Kind of his thinking. But now he's gone, so she's lost her only ally, so it doesn't look great for Venus. Um, but and she herself isn't like happy. Like instead of like Jess, who's like down in the dumps and kind of not doing anything, Venus is still very vibrant, but she's like vibrant and mad, just waiting for something to change so she could do something else.
Yeah, very good parallel with Jess, where she's not really attached to anyone, but just more active in the game. And obviously her team's winning. So we're not really seeing too many of the downsides just yet, but you just know that once they go to tribal, she might be one of the first names that comes up.
Yep. We also have Hunter McKnight, 27, from French Camp, Mississippi, a science teacher, and Soda Thompson, 27, from Lake Hopatong, New Jersey, special ed teacher. And I mentioned those two because poor Hunter just was hoping to get away from his like camp counselor life. But unfortunately, he is on the tribe that loves to sing, and especially Soda and Tevin. So we said
Go figure.
multiple times they're like literally singing like campfire songs, and then the camera cuts to Hunter. He's like, "Oh gosh, no! I thought I escaped."
Yeah, no, I can relate to that. Not that I've been a camp counselor, but just his introverted energy. And just I think he's one of the more relatable survivors that I've seen. And he's got a good social game, gets along with most everyone. Other people like him. So he's one to look out for.
Yeah, so far it's been great in the challenges as well. So um, it's been pretty nice for him.
Yeah, was he the one who essentially nailed like all the granny tosses, like without even missing to finish off one of their challenges? I think that was him.
Yes, that is correct. And let's just let that be a lesson. You do what you got to do to get the job done, even if it maybe looks a little foolish. Don't worry about that. It's about winning, and he got it done.
Hey, who's gonna be laughing at you with $1 million? No one, right?
Yeah, and the other people that were like shooting like overhand or just actual shooting like a basketball. I mean, they were missing. Meanwhile, he pretty much got them all like in a row. It was crazy.
Yeah, I don't think he missed.
We also have Tevin Davis, 24, from Richmond, Virginia, the actor. So it's kind of fun to parallel Soda and Tevin. Both of them, I think, seem to like do being very well socially, the life of the party.
Very charismatic. Yeah.
Exactly. Uh, but from Tevin, we kind of see him like, I could deal with Venus. I'm not worried about that. But Soda, I can't. I need like it can't be two of us here, which is an odd person to target, but it's interesting. I feel like it's a case of just they haven't been the tribal in so long, so like you just start thinking about things.
He he's probably concerned that she's a threat. If he's trying to build a really strong social game and trying to lead the pack, she could vulture in there. And he's just trying to be strategic about it. As you said, they don't really have any reason to worry about it because they've been winning, but that's more forward thinking, which as long as you're not speaking it out loud, I think it is smart to do that.
Yeah, on this tribe, there's not really there's not a spoken alliance. This is a very kumbaya tribe. It's more like Venus is on the outs, and so she's an easy target, and then the rest of them
Or just camp counselors.
Yeah, they're not making plans against each other necessarily. Like, even if they're scheming to themselves, there's no like talk amongst each other on someone else to target. It's kind of odd, but again,
Yeah.
when you don't go to tribal council for like 9 days at least, I mean, this stuff happens. Last is Liz Wilcox, 35, from Orlando, Florida, a marketing strategist. Although that's her title here, I mean, Liz just has some story about starting 4 businesses, I think, and I'm not really sure I understood her explanation of what she does, but according to her, I mean, she's like the greatest businesswoman there's ever been.
Yeah, it's kind of a blur. She mentioned something about flipping businesses, so she's the thing to note about her is she kind of is her own worst enemy. She did mention that she doesn't really play the game to win. She doesn't really need the money. So another person where, if you're telling everyone that, they might just target you for that, where I'm in a desperate need to win this game. I need to win this. I want to get the $1 million. For her, it's like the million doesn't even matter. Like, I'm just trying to show my daughter that I can do whatever I can do. She also is very prideful. I mean, as she should be, but she I'm not sure if you should be speaking about yourself in a way where you're trying to get in everyone's good graces. It can come off as narcissistic, and I definitely got those vibes from her. So far she is on her tribe's good side, but could be another person to look out for if Venus isn't the first target, in that she could have one of those more inflammatory personalities that just does not end up working well as soon as you go into tribal.
Yeah, but just who says that? Like even in your regular life, you don't just go walk up and like, yeah, I'm not wanting for cash. I just have all this money. Like that's just a weird thing to say. As we're all just like relaxing in the ocean or whatever.
She also
Uh,
pointed out that, no one can, and I'm paraphrasing here, but she said something akin to, who who's good enough for me, right? Like you need to have a high bar to be good enough for me in order to, meaning like having a relationship with her.
Yeah, well, does you mean like outside the game relationship?
Yeah, and just like personal life, like significant otherwise.
You know that off the island talk real quick. Uh
Okay.
that's an okay. Like I think that's okay to like you have a bar for who you want in your life. It's just but it is a
Oh yeah, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I think in the context of playing the game, people can take you out for the stupidest reasons. So I would be very careful in what I'm communicating to people, right? Like, we've seen showmances come up, and it's like, if you're trying to, you see people try to build those sorts of relationships on the show, right? And if someone's like joking around and saying, oh, like, you guys would be a good pair, and someone's like just brushing it off and saying, yeah, no one's really good enough for me, that can come off as pretty cold. And you're like, okay, well, way to be a buzzkill, right? So it's one of those things where, yes, have confidence in yourself, be proud of what you are, what your accomplishments are, but be careful with how you're communicating with that in terms of playing a game where you're trying to eliminate these people. You could make yourself an easy target. The goal is to be likable, and not everyone likes that sort of showmanship.
or even just invisible for a while. Um
Yeah,
so
it's about finding a
we
balance.
go to our last tribe, the Siga tribe. Now this I think is way more defined so far. So
Yep.
one of our only other alliances right now is Charlie Davis, 25, from Boston, Massachusetts, a law student. Maria
Whippy.
Stream Gonzalez. Oh yeah, Swifty, of course. Uh, Charlie, that is, not Maria.
Yep.
47, from Dallas, Texas, parent coach. So Charlie and Maria so far have had many conversations with each other. They seem to be aligned with each other. Again, all of this is unproven because they haven't had to test it because they haven't gotten tribal council. But in theory, them two seem to be working together. You mentioned Charlie, the major Swifty on the squad. And then we have the other two women, Jem Hussein Adams, 31 from Chicago, Illinois, an international brand mentor, and Moriah Gaynor, 28 from San Diego, California, program coordinator. So the girls all together, Jem, Moriah, and Maria, them three all by themselves want to work together as a three-person alliance. And then they are choosing to include Charlie to make a four, and it's kind of like it's unclear if like the girls are using Charlie or if Charlie and Maria are using the girls or some other permutation, but all together the four of them have the fun name Charlie's Angels.
I love it. That's probably one of the best like references. It just works perfectly. So I thought that was great. And Maria in particular is in a very good spot. We were previously talking about Jelinsky losing his challenge. She's the person who ended up winning that challenge on that journey. So she, as we know right now, has an additional vote.
Yep, she's got an extra vote. Potentially has two different ways she can go because she has the girls themselves. She has Charlie, and then obviously whatever Charlie himself might want to do. Real quick, Moriah. We watched the episode of her trying to jump, right?
Oh yeah, that was. I don't know what that was. That was horrible.
Yeah, so the challenge, like
I had to do a double take.
to the tree mail kind of refers to the challenge that's gonna happen. Like it implies that there's some jumping skills. I think they thought it was gonna be like jump off a platform and hit either grab a key or break something, which requires hops. Moriah tells us she don't got hops, and you're like, all right, what do you mean by that? And
Yeah,
I guess
I don't know what that sequence was. I feel like that was a waste of time.
you just
Like,
know the
like I said, I had to do a double take that. What do you mean you can't jump? And they show her trying to jump and just showing the rest of her tribe that she barely gets off the ground. Like it's comical to the point where it's like she's not even trying. And I'm thinking the entire time, there's no way you can't get higher up off the ground. Like, forget how unathletic you are. It's just you're barely like leaving the ground. Like you're practically not jumping. It looks like more of an effort thing than anything.
Yeah, I'm shocked. And you know what? It all ends up not even being important because the challenge in question, it's actually just like fall. It's just like walk off the edge of a platform.
Walk off the edge.
Really to jump. But it was really funny. These episodes, like present day, are the 90-minute episodes, so it actually gives you more time for like little fun stuff like that. But it was just crazy. I guess the only thing to note is you would think jumping might be needed at some point in this season, so that might be a problem for anyone choosing Moriah as their pick. But that's
if she's honest about it.
now Jem is the one on this tribe that discovers the Beware advantage. And again, they haven't lost yet, so she can't actually dig anything up, or get the key and unlock it. But what Jem decides to do is she's gonna hide the box that has the clue and the instructions. Like the instructions tell you to dig,
Right.
or not. Or sorry, not the box. She's gonna hide like the kind of like the scroll that tells you to dig. And for her, she dug and found the box, but she's taken that box, she hid it somewhere else, and now she just basically sets out everyone else on a wild goose chase for once again for reasons. There's a lot of people doing things for reasons in this season.
Yeah, I mean it does work, but the others eventually do figure it out where, is someone just kind of trying to get us to waste time or deceive us or just sending us off on a fool's errand. I believe Charlie pointed it out, and it he for sure would have communicated that with the rest. And it goes to show you that she's kind of thinking ahead. She's trying to maneuver around how to work with all these different relationships, trying to build the girls group and seeing who their targets should be when they do eventually get to tribal, utilize the advantages. So even if they're not going into tribal, it's nice that similar to Tevin, she's kind of thinking ahead and figuring out, okay, it's not all kumbaya here. We gotta eventually we'll have to eliminate one another, and where do I start with that?
Okay, but like, to what end is she creating this wild goose chase?
Yeah, that's the question, right?
Like,
We don't know which is part of it.
like she's successful, but what was the point?
Maybe
It was a
to
date.
see how they would react. Maybe to see how they would react, if they would brush it off, if they would try to do something that could cost them a vote. Who knows?
Like, what if she got accused? Like, it would be terrible. Like,
Yeah.
but it was really fun. Also, poor tree like got dug out into the roots. Like nature
Right.
destroyed. That
I'll have to find her for that. Yeah.
um, last two. So we have Ben Katzman, 31 from Miami, Florida, musician. Uh, the most fun thing with Ben is the Ben v Charlie heavy metal versus.
Yeah, I was gonna say naming the what the AC/DC songs compared to all the Taylor Swift songs, and they both like named over 100, which was very impressive. I love that part. I love Ben's vibe. Ben himself is a very charismatic person, so similar to how Tevin was on his tribe, and Soda too. Ben is also very charismatic, an uplifting person. Even if someone else is down on it in his tribe, we've seen him be uplifting, try to get them back in their good grace. Or no, that's not the right way to say it. Try to uplift their mood and get them to, I guess, focus on the game. So he's shown really good qualities. He's not. There's no clear cut leader in this tribe. There's really good vibes in the tribe, but he's been the most vocal out of the group, I would say.
Yeah. Um, I think it's like more implied that he gets along with pretty much everyone on his tribe and like could potentially be part of any alliance. Maybe like with Tim, he's the most clearly like that's the conversation we see, but I think this is another one where like yeah, really have to wait for there to be a tribal council for you to see like if he's part of anyone's specific alliance.
Absolutely.
Which leaves us with Tim. Uh, Tim Spicer, 30, from Atlanta, Georgia, college coach. Uh, the first thing I remember about Tim is he loves jumping on platforms and hoping that the platform doesn't just flip over entirely. There's a lot of that, surprisingly. Tim also is so far kind of getting blamed for Jem's shenanigans. Like he hasn't been approached yet, but we saw Moriah speculate. I wonder if Tim actually like let us in this goose chase. So I don't know if that's what Jem wanted to happen, but that's what's happening. So through no fault of his own, Tim is suddenly like in more danger than he was before because of that.
He was just putting in more effort in digging, and they seem to think that he was really looking for the beware advantage and just trying to be on his own. So that tends to that tends to be a red flag for anyone across tribal lines. So I think it's like more of the same there in terms of why he's being highlighted. And obviously he's not part of the bigger groups that are being discussed, the girls group, or even bringing in Charlie. So it leads him to be in an odd spot. He himself was mentioning he's a parent, so try to be in a parents group.
Yep, yep. So that is our season 46 cast. It's really weird as we go forward and we keep watching because now we survive the Bhanu Saga. So Bhanu's left. But
Barely.
in the aftermath, his former tribe is devastated as they are now down to 3 of only Kenzie, Q, and Tiffany. And then Nami is down to 5 because Randen left, but they haven't been the tribal council yet at all. They haven't lost. And same thing with Siga, totally untouched, and they also haven't lost. It's kind of reminiscent of Cook Islands when it suddenly became 8 versus 4 because of the mutiny. Obviously they're not merged yet, so it's not. And there's no, unlike that season with 3 tribes, there's no guarantee those 2 tribes would even work together anyway. But it does set up an interesting, I imagine Yanu is fully confident that now that Jelinsky, Jess, and Bhanu all gone, this is when they could actually win.
Yeah, less is more.
That they
Less is more in this case.
like if they lose again, then I don't know.
They just need to get it together and work with one another. And the good thing at least is the 3 people remaining were working out plans to work with each other. So at least there is more cohesion. They don't have to worry about any laggards or anything like that, or anyone else who could be potentially a handicap. And it could just make for an easier way to go through challenges, because the other teams are going to be handicapped. They're going to have to match the 3 that are out there. They're still dealing with not winning a challenge, so they're starved for that first win. But maybe that hunger is what pushes them forward. And I really hope, at least from the concerning thing about Q was, when they previously lost one of the challenges, he really took it harshly upon himself as I let my guys down. And hopefully he does not get into that headspace again. If they all go in with a clear mind, mentally reset, and just move forward past this Banu saga, I think there definitely is more to be gained. Less is more in this case.
Well said, well said. Overall thoughts on the start to this season? Like, does it still feel like a new era season?
It does, but it just does not feel the same. Like, it doesn't feel like I'm watching Survivor. It feels like I'm watching something I'm supposed to be laughing at. There are too many moments that just come off as exaggerated, and I know reality TV in general does that, but half the time with the way people are playing, it does not feel like they're playing to win. So I hope we get back more into the competitive game. We get back into more of, rather than 1 or 2 tribes dominating, every tribe has a chance to compete, and we get to see more of that.
All right. So, of course, the time has come. You, unlike most seasons, you have a big sample size to go off of now. So, you get to select 2 people who you believe have the best chance at being our sole survivors. And every session or recording session, you can decide to switch from them or not. Um, so, any thoughts on who you might choose?
This might be the first time I don't do a guy and a girl split. I like to do that. I might the 2 people who I think are in pretty good spot right now are Hunter, and I like Ben in the Green Tribe. I forget their name. So those would be the 2 that come off the top of my head.
Hunter and Ben. You
Yes.
weren't brave enough to pick one of the Yanu 3?
Definitely not. No. Do not like playing with fire in this case. They have to prove that they can th they have to prove that they can not be dysfunctional for an episode before before I even think to consider that.
I'm trying to remember who I would've picked at the time. Well, at the time would have been like episode 1. So in episode 1, I probably, well, you know what? In case it influences you, I guess I'll keep that to myself for now. But all right, I'll lock it in. Hunter and Ben. With that, that brings this first episode of season 46 to a close. We are past the Bhanu Saga, and now, at least I think a lot of people would agree with the statement, we can move on to Real Survivor when we discuss episodes 5, 6, and 7 next time. So until then, and until we speak again, ciao.